How's everybody doing? My name's Mike, and we got Miss Abbey today. So she's a Morkie. That's a Maltese Yorkie combination, and she is 7 months old. And that's also what Mac is, and that is her housemate, who is Mac. And he's, I believe he's around 13 months old, and he is the same thing. He's a Morkie, also with a little Havanese in him as well. So today what we're doing is, since we've already seen the introduction to leash pressure, which she's been with me for a few days, and we did that with Mac, I want to talk a little bit about holding the leash with the dogs today. So when you're holding a leash, this loop is not meant to be wrapped up like this. This loop is meant to have your thumb through it. So if you want to hold it with two hands, you would hold it with your left hand. The dog will always be on the left side when you're in heel. You would hold it with your left hand, and you would make sure there's just enough slack here that if you want to lift up to correct the dog, you have the ability to do that. So if you want to hold this with your right hand, you'd put your thumb through it, and then you would grab all the extra slack just like this, so you make a nice leash that's not all flopping around everywhere. If you let the leash flop around everywhere and you wrap it up like this, the message you're sending to the dog is tension, and that you really don't know what you're doing. You're not in control. You're messy. So the way to hold it with one hand, which is the way I prefer, especially with a small dog, we use a thinner leash, which is a little bit smaller. So the way you hold a leash with a dog that is this size and a leash like this, you can put your left hand, your thumb through the loop, and then what you can do is take the extra slack, and that's going to go on top of your thumb as well. So you're making like another loop. So again, then from there, you can grab all of that extra slack, and you can hold the leash just like this. That actually kind of makes a sort of a knot. And you see the slack I have with her. Now, she's been through the introduction to leash pressure. This is why the dog's actually relaxing standing here. This dog in the home, she's here for potty training, and you know, other behavioral issues go with that. Even though she's small, she can still cause damage. She actually took down one of the owners by biting at their shoes. So when they're here for training, we do the whole picture with them. We get them trained, and we want them to act like a service dog, which she's actually doing a good job. Her first day here, I mean, she would come out with her feet going 1,000,000 miles an hour. So now with the leash, it's very important to have just enough slack that if you lift up, you can correct them. That is gives you your ability to control the dog. So since I wanted to go over that, now we're just going to go ahead and do the leash pressure exercise with her, so everybody can kind of see how she's doing. And again, her first couple days here, this dog was just 1,000,000 miles an hour, excited, hitting the end of the leash every which way. So that's why we work on it, and we get them used to not having leash pressure. And when there is leash pressure, we want it to be uncomfortable for them, so they don't want that anymore. That's how we deter them. So let's go ahead and show how once we get them keeping the leash loose, they actually are calming down and paying attention to you, and they want to come towards you. That's what this training exercise does for them. All right, girl. So you see, just like that, see how she keeps it loose, and if I turn, good girl, good girl. So what I'm doing is actually rewarding the dog for turning when she hits the end of the leash, instead of allowing me to correct her. Good girl, that's a good girl, that's a good girl. So again, she hits the end of the leash, she gets a little correction just like that. Good girl. And again, how we turn this into a heel is just like this. See how I turn? So I turn, I give her a little correction if she doesn't come with me, and that's how we turn it into a heel for the dog. That's how we get the dog to understand what we want. Good girl, that's a good girl. So you see that? We just got to tell them in a way they trust, understand, and respect, and the dog will be happy to follow. We just have to give them the rules and the structure to give them the ability to we have to set them up for success, and training them is what's going to give them the ability to go ahead and succeed.